Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for Bitcoin. Now on this video, I'm just going to go over the bullish counts right now. I think they're the most probable, and when I see the bearish scenario make sense, I will update that option as well. But just going over this one currently. So I have two bullish scenarios. One is we pull back in this area to between 50 and 52K. Then we go up for our third of the third in nested 312s. Or what I think is actually happening, it's going to screw a lot of people over, is we actually have four nested 1-2s, and this is a 1-2, 1-2. And we can get pretty extreme targets. That would be the scenario where the full bull market is on, and we'd get very high targets up around like 150, 150K for like our third wave in blue. So we're going to talk about that wave count, those two wave counts on the smaller time frames. So first scenario is three nested 1-2s. In that scenario, we expect to pull back to this previous fourth wave between around 50K and 52K. We'd want to find support at this previous fourth wave to keep this count intact and keep all our guidelines intact as well. If that plays out, I have a time fib, which is between the 618 and the 1-to-1. Most probable, just a guideline, not a rule, which would be around Thursday the 21st. And it doesn't show on the hourly. And first week of April. So if we start to break down, that would be my alternative. Now, my primary is that this was actually a 1-2 here and a second 1-2, so four nested 1-2s, looking for this to go pretty much parabolic. Now there are issues with it, but the reason why I suggest that is the extremeness of this fifth. It doesn't look like a blow-off fifth because we are recovering like I suggested in my last video. If you haven't seen my last video, I suggest seeing it. And it was just so extreme, this fifth wave. That was pretty much the main reason why I suggested that. No divergence at all between this third and fifth. So I think this less probable scenario is the one that's going to happen. So I usually go with probabilities in my trade setups, but sometimes in crypto it does the least probable thing, but the still valid thing. And it kind of screws over everybody. I'm aware that most people are waiting for this. So the most painful thing to happen would be if this never comes back. It never comes back to 50 to 52K. Now, if we break this fourth wave, this micro fourth wave on this proposed fourth nested 1-2, then I would switch my viewpoint to that scenario where we come back to here. So just wanted to make that clear. But as of right now, it's doing exactly what I expected with the four nested 1-2s. And how that would get relabeled is this is a 1. Rather than this being a 1-2 here, which lines up with this count, this would be a WXY. It looks like a triangle. So that would be our 1, 2, then our 3, 4, 5. And we just had a very shallow retrace. So this would be a 1, 2, 1, 2. It doesn't look ideal, like I said, but the reaction I'm getting right now leads me to the fact that this is actually the case. We get a 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, I'll show you that on the smaller time frame. So we're down on the 15-minute. Just going to focus on the correction so far since the high. If you watch my last video, I suggested that after this move, we actually grind up to our B zone, which is between 65,319 and 66,148 would be the ideal zone, which when we come up to. And then we look for a 1-to-1 off that B wave high for our C wave as a running flat. And this creates our 1 and 2 and we go parabolic from there in that scenario. We hit past the 382 on linear, so that's okay. In very bullish scenarios, I only expect to get 382s. So the biggest issue with new Elliott Wave traders, maybe you'll find this helpful, is they expect it to follow guidelines. They expect, okay, if it's a 1-2, it's going to come between the 50 and the 618 in an ABC zigzag. And when they trade crypto, it gets very frustrating because they find price always gets away from them. That was a lesson I learned early on in crypto. And in very bullish markets, it's better not to anticipate zigzags, but anticipate running flats. And a running flat is where the A wave, the B wave comes higher than the previous high, and the C wave does not drop below the A wave. You just keep getting higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, right? And if you have a hard time believing that, maybe go back and check yourself. You'll find that that is the default rather than an ABC zigzag. All right, so going off that, this is a very complex structure, obviously. Looking for the B wave to complete, I pulled the 1-to-1 extension. This wave off this wave, and that lines up with 65,341. Very difficult count. I'm not even going to try and tell you what it is until it gets completed. B waves are the most difficult waves to project as to what the labeling is. So I stick more with fibs in B waves. Probably something complex like a double zigzag here. There's a W. This is probably a 3-wave with a flat in between and potentially getting 5 up from here. It's just potential. This could also be a 3-wave. Don't really know. But we did project this as soon as we got this wave down. We projected the move coming back here. So that's where your guidelines can help. Your default putting it as a running flat can help. And as it pans out, you can target the 1-to-1 so you know you're in the right direction. That's the most important thing, right? So target for that is 65,341. Target for the Y wave or C, if we get 5 up, is, put that on the bottom. That lines up with the 1.618 extension best. We have some confluence there. Sorry, it's a little tight here. That's at 65,768. As you can see, that's the 1.618 extension of this first wave up. And we're running close to our time guidelines. So I pulled from the beginning of this potential fourth nested 1-2. Just keep that in mind. I haven't relabeled it yet. I will once we get it. But this is a fourth 1-2, right? So guidelines for that. C wave, I just pulled it for now. If we get at that 1-to-1 in our B zone between the 1.236 and a 1.382 extension of this A wave, we'd get between 62.55 and 60,000. And we should protect this A wave. So we're looking for this move to the upside, come back in a quick drop similar to this A wave, and then go parabolic. Now, if we do not get that, and this just comes up shy, and we just hit a 1-to-1, I pulled the 1.618, but if we just come up shy and hit the 1-to-1, we would probably just make a regular flat, and we might just come below this A. We'd still target the 1-to-1 extension of this A off this B. So just realize both those scenarios can happen. I'm not currently trading Bitcoin. I'm not interested till we get the C wave. It's too difficult to project what's going to happen because both those scenarios can happen very easily. So you're literally just guessing. All right, so looking for this move and then continuation after the fact. Want to hold the previous fourth. No matter what, that's kind of the last stand for this bullish count. And that's between 55,669 and 57,260. That's if we come up and just make a regular flat. We want to hold those areas to keep this potential for nested 1-2s intact. All right, guys, so looking for either this move for B between the 618 and the 1-to-1. That will be the buy area for me, or looking to just hit the 1-to-1, not make a new high, and just slightly break the A wave right here, and then look for a long. All right, I hope that was helpful. That's it for Bitcoin. I'll see you on the next one.